Alrighty, so we're in the home stretch. I know that last video, I just recorded it, has a bit of detail. And I can just tell you, you're going to use this stuff from here on out. And so you're going to get a lot of practice with it. But this video definitely could be revisited to get that process down because it'll be in a way important process for you to use. All right, so now the last thing we're going to do. Now, by the way, that was worth 50 points. So this attendance is worth 50 points for completing your part 2. And now, I'm sorry, your step 1 was completing part 2, and then your step 2 is actually going to be learning more about what we've done. So what we're going to do here is you're going to use whatever Gen AI tool you want. Gemini, ChatGPT, something else, whatever you want to use. I don't tell you what to use. You use whichever one, and please use free versions unless you've already started paying, right? So what I want you to do here is I've provided a prompt, okay? And in this prompt, I provided that code that we just went over, okay, for our proof of work query file, right? I've also included some content, like I'm a student taking an intro to SQL. The instructor has taught us about Git. So in this prompt, we're going to have both the Git commands, right? And then also we're learning to write our first SQL and use a proof of work file to document our work. Here is the template we use. So you're giving it that as well. Your job is to act as a helpful assistant and answer any questions I have about the Git commands or the proof of work script, right? Do you understand your role? If so, let me know and I'll ask my first question. All right, so you'll copy this entire thing. So copy this, boom, okay? Go over it now. You may have heard me say I am Gen AI. I use Gemini. I've used it primarily. I've been on it for about 6 months and I just like it. So now you're going to paste that in there. Let me see, did I get it? I did, okay? So you paste that, and by the way, you could talk about how this prompt is maybe not, I mean, it's a good starting point. It definitely could be refined. If you want to play with that, that's also a good thing. But in this case, once we do this, we hit enter. Now this will be interesting because LLMs act differently, right? Some LLMs may reply in one way, some may reply in a different. So it's interpreting the script and it says, okay, I understand my role perfectly. I'm ready to navigate, right? I see how your workflow is structured. You're running queries that append. Oh, this is what we talked about at the end of the last one. We append the results to a text file to create a log of your progress, and then you use the Git version to version control these changes. Oh, you could ask about anything in here. First thing I might ask is, what does append mean? Right? What does that mean? Now, you may already know what that means, right? But in this case, you're taking, like, you've learned this thing. So now let's actually talk about, see, this is great. Right? So you read this through, because append is understanding the way the file is handled, but then we have the actual SQL output, right? And this tells it actually how that append is doing things. So, so the idea here, let me come back here. So again, you're going to ask questions of this. I just threw one out there that I immediately thought of because I hadn't thought about that. I did think about, we just covered the append because I showed you, remember when we were in here, I deleted the file, but when I ran the proof of work, right? That's why when I had I wrote one query, I did the proof of work. And then I wrote another query and I did the proof of work, but because I had them both uncommented, I got duplicate output. And one of the things I look for is that you don't have duplicate output in your proof of work file, because that's part of what you're showing, so you know how to use this proof of work system. Okay, coming back here actually. Okay, so you're going to ask, and in this case I say at least 3 questions. By the way, do ask more. The more you learn about this, the better you're going to navigate even the next assignment, right? So make your post. So you don't have to, and I don't recommend at all, giving all this content to the discussion board. Really what we want to know is what was your question? If you ask, you do at least 3. I definitely recommend more, but a minimum of 3. then come up with what you felt was your best one. Or maybe you ask a follow-up question to your first one to help you clarify what was being asked, right? So that's what's helpful here. So then you'll, and by the way, you can actually in almost all of these tools, although they've even changed this as of late, to where you can share. Now, that is one thing I'm fine with you doing. If you wanted to share the conversation, it creates a link. Like if I was to copy that, maybe in my reply, I could put that, but I don't require it, because what I'm saying is the important thing here are the questions, not the answers, because we can all get answers. And this is really one thing I would hone in on you with Gen AI. It's the questions you ask, and the better questions you give, the better your questions become, the better the LLMs work for you, because you need to think about what it is you want. Okay. All right. So coming back to what you're required to do here. Okay. So choose your best two. What you think would be helpful to other students. And again, don't give us should be all, give us all the AI output. I'll fix that. Just the questions you ask. Okay, then in this case, reply to a peer. So in this case, I'm only going to make you do one at minimum reply. But you can't just say, oh yeah, that's cool. Read their question and maybe try their question and tell them if it was helpful to you, or explain or offer an alternative perspective, right? So in your reply, right, that's what you will end up doing here. Like, here's my best two questions, and maybe tell us how many did you actually do, right? Maybe you did more than three, but give us your best two. Right, and then you will reply to other students, at least one student. That's 20 points, and add to the conversation. A substantive reply adds to the conversation by asking a follow-up question, offering an alternative perspective, or explaining how their post helped you. And again, I would take their question and see, if it's one I didn't ask, I definitely want to know about that. Okay, that's it for attendance. I know it felt like a lot, but you got this. The next one actually is going to be continuing our adventure through querying with Carter. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Bye.